InfoPlus for genuine information.
Namaste and welcome to our show InfoPlus. Today we have the privilege of speaking with one of Nepal's most dynamic and inspiring young leaders, Karan Vaidya, the youngest honorary consul in Nepal, represent the Republic of Latvia, fostering economic, scientific and cultural ties between our nations. As Vice President of the Vaidya Group, a leading business conglomerate and a serial entrepreneur in hospitality and wellness, he brings innovations and vision to every endeavor. Beyond the corporate world, Mr. Karan is also deeply committed to empowering Nepal's youth, sharing insight on resilience, digital detox, and entrepreneurial growth as a motivational speaker. It's an honor to have him here today to share his journey, achievement, and insight. Please join me in welcoming Karan Vaidya. Soiki, namaste.
Namaste.
Pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely. Welcome to my house.
Thank you. Joining us today is Karan Vaidya, the youngest honorary consul in Nepal, representing the Republic of Latvia in Nepal. Mr. Karan, an inspiring story of vision, innovations, and purpose, is a dynamic leader committed to fostering economic, scientific, and cultural ties between Nepal and Latvia, while safeguarding the interest of citizens from both nations. A graduate of Procher University and MIT, he has worked across global cities like London, Toronto, and Singapore. After returning to Nepal post-2015 earthquake, he took on the vice presidency of the Vaidya Group, a leading business conglomerate. An entrepreneur and visionary, Karan has founded multiple ventures in hospitality and wellness and is passionate about empowering Nepal's youth through motivational talks and innovative initiatives. Beyond his cooperative endeavors, Mr. Karan is dedicated to empowering Nepal's youth. As a motivational speaker, he shares his experiences on resilience, digital detox, and entrepreneurial growth, inspiring the next generation to dream big and take control of the future.
Plus for genuine information.
Namaste and welcome to the show Info Plus. As the youngest honorary consul in Nepal, what does this achievement mean to you personally and professionally?
Personally, I believe that it means a lot because it was almost 10 years ago when I was 25, 26 I became. Honestly, I did not think that I could have become because a lot of the counterparts were 40s, 50s, 60s, but I did give it a shot. So I believe that, especially personally, I feel like it is a guiding light for young people to tell them that it is possible. But for me, I felt really good about myself because it's like a stamp that, you're capable of being in that position no matter what age you are. But professionally, I believe it's different because at a young age, I can, represent the country, which means that I can do a lot more throughout my tenure. So I feel like I've gotten this opportunity and time as well. So professionally, I think I can do a lot with it.
And that's such a great achievement for you to be an honorary consul in Nepal, the youngest honorary consul.
Absolutely.
So what inspired you to take this role as the honorary consul? How has been the journey like so far?
More than what inspired me was, it was more a silver lining, in a very dark cloud. So during the earthquake of 2015, a lot of people suffered, and including Nepalese, of course, the foreigners who were here in Nepal also were suffering. So at that time, my father still represents Ukraine, and a lot of Ukrainians seek support to the Honorary Consul of Ukraine. So you see this area, the house, there were almost 91 Ukrainians staying here during the earthquake because they had nowhere to go. They were all tented out in the gardens, My family was supporting them, giving them food for almost 15 days.
That's a huge support.
Yeah. So that happened, and at that time I was working in Singapore, and I just couldn't see the country, going through that stage. And this opportunity came where Latvia was also looking for an emissary here in Nepal. And I just went and gave it that shot. And I went to Delhi, to the embassy, and told them that, I can do this job as well. So, things happened. It was the domino effect. And eventually, within a year's time, I became the honorary consul.
How did your global education and work experiences in UK, USA, US and China help to shape your perspectives as a leader?
I feel like, especially, let's start with China and India. So I was briefly in China where I learned the language as well as the culture. And India, I did most of my young education there. So being our two big neighbors, it taught me a lot about their culture, their language. So it helps me a lot in day-to-day business as well. But in terms of UK and US, so I did my engineering in US, and briefly I did my exchange for my master's in business administration in UK. You learn a lot from the Western countries.
That's
like
true.
The Singaporean past leader, Lee Kuan Yew, he mentioned, right? He learned a lot from when he was in England studying, and that's how he made Singapore what it is today. So you learn a lot from there, and that's what I'm trying to bring back to Nepal as well.
So with your global education and work experiences, what motivated you to return back in your native land, Nepal, after the massive 2015 earthquake?
It was always the plan to come back to Nepal because my heart lies here in the country. But the earthquake, of course, expedited that plan to come back. So, like I briefly mentioned, I was in Singapore. I was working in a telecommunication company, heading their company as a vice president. And I got the news of the earthquake. So I just could not stay outside Nepal knowing what was going on here. So I chose to come back here. And like I said, the silver lining was that I got the opportunity to become the Honorary Consul of Latvia. And I took that chance and became one as well. But like I said, the plan was always to come back and do something for the country.
So you are serving as the Honorary Consul of Latvia to Nepal since 10 years, I believe.
Almost 10 years.
So what changes have you brought between two countries?
So more than anything, I think we are two things. One, a bridge between the two countries, because we are two fairly small countries quite far away. But you know, we are a bit of a bridge because we try to bring it as close as possible. I will mention how and why we do that. And secondly, you are a bit of a safety net for the people, Nepalese going to Latvia or Latvians coming here. So there have been a lot of instances where Latvians have required support in Nepal, Nepalese have required support in Latvia. For example, we have had a Nepali who went to Latvia, Riga, the capital, and he got his doctorate there, he got married there, but he had his daughter here in Nepal, Adarcha.
Okay.
And she needed a passport. So, you know, briefly, so we supported them in that scenario.
That's a great
so small
initiation.
things like that, small things like that, we support them as a bridge and as a safety net as well.
Can you elaborate on the key areas of collaboration between Latvia and Nepal that you aim to strengthen during your tenure?
Okay, so Latvia has four things that I, focus on. I call it THIS as an acronym. So T is timber. So they're very good with their wood. 51% of Latvia is covered with wood. And even though they do sell a lot of wood to different countries, they do not deplete their forests. So their forest is growing as well as them exporting their wood. So it's called sustainable bioagriculture. So that's one. So that's something we can learn here in Nepal, I think. H is hydropower. So in Europe, they're the #1 in use of hydropower. They have huge hydropower dams and they're excellent at operating and running hydropower. So I've had interest from Latvian companies to run hydropowers in Nepal, because we are also going to come to that stage where we will need efficient running of the systems.
And we have got lots of resources for that.
Exactly. Like Nepal, Latvia has, I think, 12,500 rivers as well, even though it's, I think, 1/3 the size. So hydroelectricity is huge there as well. So that is one place where I want to, bring things closer between Nepal and Latvia. The second thing, which is the I of this, is IT. So they export about $1.4 billion worth of IT from Latvia to the world. So a neighboring country, Estonia, is known for its IT as well. I think Skype, which we all have used, was initiated and started up there. So Latvia also has a few companies that are really good at IT. So that's something we can do for Nepal as well. And distance doesn't matter when it comes to information technology. So these are the two sectors, the hydro part and the IT part that I really want to focus on. And the S is startup and smart energy, and we'll get into that a little later.
So you seems to be active in so many areas as an honorary consul. So what initiatives are you undertaking to promote education, culture, traditions and scientific ties between two countries?
Okay, let's start with education. So Latvia is in a Schengen region in the Europe, so it works with the Schengen visa. So we have the Erasmus program from Europe, where Erasmus was basically a program that was created to give equal opportunity for education to everyone in the world. So we have a lot of students that are going to explore Europe, to Riga and Latvia, because although the living standards are high, the expenses are not as expensive as Western Europe. So we do have a lot of Nepalese that are studying to become doctors, engineers in their universities. So that's one. In terms of culture, so interesting things, two things. One, we have a Latvian National Geographic photographer who's taking photographs of all the ethnic clothes of Nepalese. We have about 192. Nepal, although small, we have a lot of ethnicities, right? And as he's taking pictures, he's showcasing it at the Mountain Museum in Pokhara. So you can go see, it's a permanent collection. And he's actually showcasing all the clothes from Nepal there. So that's one interconnection. And one other interesting interconnection is a Latvian lady, although she's Canadian, but her parents were Latvian. Have you been to Moon Dance in Pokhara, the old restaurant made of wood? It's one of the oldest restaurants there.
I've heard about it a lot.
So that was actually started by a Latvian lady.
Oh, wow.
A long time back. So interesting, you know, intersections between the two countries.
Very interesting.
Scientifically, even if you don't know it, we all mostly use Latvian technology. So one of the biggest companies in Latvia is called Microtik, and they make excellent modem routers. So most of the routers and the connections we are using is through them. So if you're using Wi-Fi, you've definitely used a Latvian product, even in Nepal.
I didn't know that before.
So a few interesting things.
So how do you support Nepali citizens in Latvia and Latvian citizens in Nepal?
Right.
As an honorary consul.
So I'll give you more concrete examples. For example, the passport that I gave to this child that was born here was a support to Latvian as well as a Nepali citizen. Secondly, in terms of, so during the lockdown, we had a lot of Latvians that were stranded in Nepal. We supported them to go back to their country, you know, with the support of the EU delegation and different embassies.
That's a huge contribution.
That was quite a tough time. And any kind of this kind of natural disasters, we're here to protect them. In terms of Nepalese going there, we support any kind of you know, counseling for visa. Although we don't directly do the visa, we tell them how they can get that visa and what they can do and what they can achieve when they go there. For example, the Erasmus program or the educational programs. So we talk about these things. For example, we had a startup that had interest into going to Latvia to, you know, enter the European market. So we supported them. A few things like that.
Can you share the vision behind the Moos model and how it could contribute to Nepal's rural development and tourism sector?
Interesting you ask about that. So the Moos model is, while I was doing my MBA from MIT and Tsinghua, it was my final thesis. So what inspired me for the Moos model was Dhulikhel Mountain Resort, which is the first resort that was built in Nepal, was built by my maternal grandfather, my mother's father. He's always been an inspiration to me. So what happened was Dhulikhel that you see today was not like that 50 years ago.
That's true.
So there was no water. There used to be those beautiful mountains, of course, but tour guides and tour officers used to take the people, like the foreigners especially, there at 3 o'clock in the morning. They would start from Kathmandu, go there for the sunrise, do a small picnic and come back, right? But then this man, Vishnu Shrestha, who is my grandfather, he had the vision and the guts to build a resort there. He brought water from almost 4 kilometers away, gave to the villages, gave employment to all the villages around there, and made this beautiful resort, which still stands today, Dhulikhel Mountain Resort. So that inspired me. That told me that, you know, if I want to develop Nepal, one business model, which is the hospitality resort business model, can really develop a place without having to take everything there, you know, all the infrastructure there. So that's what the Moos model is about. I can go much deeper into it, but let's not.
That sounds like a huge initiation from your side.
So I'm trying to do that in Kakani and in Pokhara now.
Okay. As someone from a multifaceted career, how do you balance your diplomatic duties with your role in business and other ventures, since you are involved in so many things?
Absolutely.
How do you balance everything together?
It's not easy for sure. And when my Latvian duties come to play, they definitely trump everything else, you know. But having said that, one thing, it's good to be young and being in this position because you have much more energy to do things. But it's a balance of things, you know. My Latvian honorary consul position doesn't dictate that I have to do something every day unless the situation is there or I'm doing an event. For example, I did a nice Latvian breakfast tasting, something like that, bringing culture here. You don't have to do a day-to-day thing. So with that, it's just somehow you have to balance these things and manage your time.
So you seems to be managing everything really well.
Thank you. Sometimes I feel like I don't, but yeah.
Yeah. So what role do you see entrepreneurship playing in shaping Nepal's future, and how to encourage innovation among the younger generations?
No, we cannot underestimate the power
Since you're also a youth of this generation,
Thank you so
how
much.
to encourage
Yeah.
other younger
So
generations?
two things. Entrepreneurship, I think, needs to be a backbone of any country, right? Because our generation especially, we are in this technology-driven internet generation. So it's easier for people to start a business, market a business in this generation. So even the US, one of the most developed countries, the backbone are the small and medium enterprises and businesses. So Nepal really needs to focus on entrepreneurship and allow, especially the youth, to develop businesses and work with policies that would help them to stay in Nepal. That's entrepreneurship for you. And the second thing you asked me was?
And how to encourage innovations among the younger generations?
Yeah, I've talked about this before. It's a little tricky subject, Nepal needs to, especially family to family, the parents need to promote the youth to think critically. That's something we are missing here, because I've studied in the West, and I feel like critical thinking is an aspect that we have forgotten what to do here. Because even in our education, even in India, the same thing happened. We are told what to study, We are not taught how to think openly and even question the teacher.
Yes.
I think that's very important for innovation. And secondly, I feel like when youths come up with business ideas, the parents should not tell them, don't try it, don't take that risk. Maybe tell them how to not take that risk or take it lightly, reduce that, mitigate that risk, but don't tell them not to do something, because I believe that people need to try their best, and even failures teach them a lot of things. So these are two ways I believe that innovation can be cultivated in our country.
So how do you see cultural actions influencing the relationship between two countries, and is there any new initiations or projects coming up between two countries?
Right. So it might feel like Latvia and Nepal are miles away. It is miles away. But it's interesting how our cultures are similar in terms of song and dance. So Latvia is also a lot about song, music, dancing, There is a UNESCO protected ceremony that happens every 5 years called the Latvian Song and Dance Festival, where a lot of Latvians come together, choirs, they sing, they dance. So Nepal is similar. We have a lot of dances, from the the Lake dance to the different multitude of dances.
Very rich in culture and heritage.
And singing as well,
yes,
right?
That's true.
So my idea that I want to do, although I wanted to do this before COVID, but then that stopped things. But when things get better, I want to try to bring the song and dance from Latvia to Nepal, maybe by showcasing something and taking our song and dance to Latvia to show them what it is. That's one way to do it.
That would be so interesting. Yeah, it will be a huge initiation from both the countries.
Yes, absolutely.
Since both the countries are very rich in culture and heritage, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had a very interesting showcase. We had about 60 Latvian choir orchestra.
Okay.
Latvian orchestra is one of the best in the world. They all flew down to Chennai actually, and they partnered with a very famous sitar player, and they did a bit of a a to and fro in music, where the choir was singing, and the sitarist and the violinist, actually a famous violinist, they were playing together. So that kind of amalgamation of culture is what I also want to try to do. Yeah.
So Latvia is also known for its advantages in technologies and innovations. Are there opportunities for Nepal to collaborate in these areas in coming years?
One interesting fact about Latvia is they have the fastest internet in the world, which is very surprising, compared to the West. And like I said, they have excellent modems from MikroTik. So I believe that IT is one sector that has no distance. So there's definitely chances for companies from Nepal and companies from Latvia to collaborate in the IT sector. It hasn't happened yet, but this is again entrepreneurship and innovation. It's tricky. When it sparks, it sparks. So I want to promote it by maybe trying to send entrepreneurs to Latvia, explore Latvia, to learn from how they are being successful. One thing very smart that they have done as a country is they are focused on smart technology. So they focused on like silicon-based chips, innovating modems, things that Nepal can also do, because we are going to be in an energy surplus for a long time now, and we are a very landlocked country. So it's very important for us to understand that we need high-value products from Nepal that is light in weight if we want to export, because we can't export heavy goods from here because it gets very costly. So Latvia is doing that already. So that's something I want to learn, and I want to teach the entrepreneurs in Nepal to create high-value products like in Riga in Latvia and try to export it to the world.
So looking ahead, what are your goals for the partnership between Latvia and Nepal in coming years?
All right, so in terms of commerce, I'm focusing on hydropower operations and IT, like I mentioned, information technology, even if it's trading or, you know, startup to startup peer mentorship. In terms of culture, I said song and dance is my focus. I want to bring those cultures here, and film. So there is generally a European film festival where we show Latvian films as well. And in terms of people to people tourism, Latvia is a beautiful place. The longest beach in Europe, 500 kilometers. They have hills similar to ours. They have beaches, beautiful Art Nouveau architecture. So I want to promote Nepalese to go there as well as Latvians to come here. Latvians love the mountains here. We already have 100 to 200 Latvians coming here every year.
Oh,
so it's always good to have that people-to-people connection as well. So I want to push and promote all these things.
So what legacy do you hope to leave behind as a diplomat and as a leader dedicated to Nepal's progress?
In terms of Latvia and Nepal, I want to, even though the distance is very far away, I want to leave a legacy that I created a bridge that was short enough to bring the two countries, even though far away and very small, together. I want more Nepalese to know about Latvia and more Latvians to know about Nepal. In terms of business and just as a leader from Nepal, I want to make sure our generation and the younger generation, the Gen Alphas and the ones that come after that, to restart feeling proud of what being Nepali is. Because I feel, you know, it's disheartening, but I feel like a lot of us have already forgotten and, you know, started feeling that we should not be, you know, we don't want to be a part of this country. So I want to be, even if it's a drop in the ocean, I want to be a part of that revolution that kind of brings people back to Nepal, want them to stay in Nepal and do something in Nepal.
That sounds so interesting. Your passions and your words sound so encouraging and motivating. So you are passionate about empowering young generations, especially Nepal youth. What advice would you like to give, especially to the young generation striving to achieve their goals? Because today's world is very challenging, isn't it? So what advice would you like to give to the young generations of today's world?
Well, I like to be more real. You know, it's not easy. Anyone who says it's easy hasn't really faced, especially doing business or any kind of leadership here. But it's the same everywhere in the world. So Nepal has a lot of problems, but that's where, you know, youths can innovate and create solutions and do well here. We are between two big nations. We have to make use of that. So one thing that especially when I'm empowering the youth, I have my own philosophy that I talked about. I talk about resilience, intelligence, and diligence. So what it basically means is you have to be resilient no matter what, because life will push you down 7 times. You have to get back up 8. By intelligence, I don't mean you have to be the most intelligent person by birth, but you have to never stop learning. So I tell them to try to keep learning no matter what, because the smartest person in the room is the one that keeps learning, and the stupidest one is the one that thinks he knows it all, right?
That's true.
And then diligence. Nothing comes without hard work. Like I always talk about my father, you know. we have this, I got this platform. I'm here today because of his hard work, because he had to start from scratch. He had to start, he's a self-made businessman. So he taught me a lot that you have to be dogmatically diligent about what you do. Otherwise, if you're lazy, you're not going to get where you are. So resilience, intelligence, diligence is three things that I try to tell the youth no matter where I go.
That's so lovely. That was really a very good conversation with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time and trying to highlight all these countries. You know, I think it's a very important thing you're doing. So,
thank you. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Info Plus for genuine information.
Thank you, Mr. Karan Vaidya, for sharing your inspiring journey and valuable insight with us today. Your dedication to fostering global connection, driving innovations and empowering Nepal's youth is truly commendable. To our audience, I hope this conversation has left you feeling inspired to embrace resilience, innovations and propose in your own lives. Stay tuned for more engaging discussion with remarkable personality shaping our worlds. Until next time, take care and keep striving for greatness. Namaste.
Info Plus for genuine information.